Hi. Did you notice how women often tend to be more sensitive than men? I mean, they are sensitive to goodness. So if you compare women to men, it is common for them to work hard day and night for the sake of others, especially for their family. They're willing to go through many ordeals in order to protect and serve their loved ones. Father has mentioned this many times, how women are champions of sacrificial love. Pregnancy and childbirth is an undisputable example of women's capacity to live for the sake of others, literally. It is often the mothers who try to guide their families towards moral values. And in the religious spheres, it is often the sisters who serve and sacrifice for the church. Their capacity to sacrifice is incredible. And when you look at the history of the Unification movement, it was the women who made incredible sacrifices that served as the foundation to advance God's providence. And it is important that we remember and acknowledge this fact. The title of this message is The Sacrificial Heart of Women to Save the World. Okay, so first we should remember the historical context. The 1960s was a turbulent time, and as we neared the 1970s, communism was expanding around the globe. The tension between North and South Korea felt like war could break out again at any moment. That is why father and mother launched a new educational initiative called Victory Over Communism. Knowing the inhumane brutality of communist governments from our personal experience, my husband and I launched a very successful educational initiative called Victory Over Communism, or VOC. Ours was the only voice in the world to clearly explain the fallacies of its materialistic and atheistic theory while offering a God-centered counter-proposal. This initiative strengthened the minds of the South Koreans, and later also the Japanese, so that they could arm themselves with the inner fortitude and clarity of perspective against the far left-wing fractions that were seeking to expand the communist realm. At that critical moment, my husband and I once again urged our members, especially the women, to take action. Our Heavenly Parent knows the power of women. My husband is the world's foremost champion of women as the moral leaders of the family and society. Father is such a manly man. He's powerful, confident, and full of charisma. But as you can see from Mother's testimony, true Father is the world's foremost champion of women, especially as the moral leaders not only of the family, but also society. And it was with that in mind that true parents sent out women missionaries to revive the nation to its true calling. With this conviction, we called Korean blessed wives to sacrifice their family life for a time and, as missionaries, go to the streets, to the halls of government, to the churches and temples, and from house to house to provide education, empower the people, and multiply the patriotic spirit. The wives responded. Each entrusted their young children and sometimes ill, elderly parents to their husband's care and set out. Women are gifted with an unquenchable desire to protect and love and nurture, especially their children. So can you imagine what it would take to redirect that love away from their own children and onto the front line to love the people of Korea? They gave up their most precious moments of motherhood to save their nation and the world. After returning home from 3 years public service, their children would not even recognize them. the children often resisted them. So where does a mother and child bury this aching heart? The world should know that these historical sacrifices are the nutrients hidden deep within the soil from which this worldwide peace movement has sprouted. The mother is the center of the family, and when she is not home, even for a day or two, the family suffers. Our wives and mothers went out, not for a day or two, but for 3 years. For every father who had to cradle and feed a child begging for his mother's milk, a mother on mission was squeezing milk out of her swollen breasts and weeping. Can you imagine the mother on the front line, her breasts bursting with milk? Even if she tried to deny her natural instincts to attend her own children, her body could not lie. More than a hungry stomach aching for food, a mother's breast full of milk, desperate to quench her child's hunger. As I consider this type of sacrifice, I imagine that it is similar to how God has felt throughout human history, how heaven has felt, longing to bless us throughout human history. Yes, God has been longing to bestow the blessing of heaven, just as a mother's breast longs to give to her child. Our heavenly parent has been bursting, longing for the opportunity to care for us and to love us, but we've been separated. I'm sure some of those early members who were sacrificing on the front line for 3 years must have considered this parallel to God's longing heart. It was almost like Jesus' 3 years of public ministry, or my husband's 3 years in a North Korean labor camp. Wives who were pregnant when going out would return to give birth, and after 100 days, go back to their mission field. Mother mentions Jesus, and she mentions Father. But the only reference she does not mention is her own first 3 years of marriage. True mother refrains from mentioning her own suffering. But she did suffer a lot. And therefore, she knew what those mothers were going through. I don't think Father could have sent them through such ordeals without the foundation of sacrifice that mother first laid. When a woman has a baby, she experiences the pain of childbirth. Despite this, the midwife's job is to encourage her to push more. Like midwives giving birth to a new world, my husband and I pushed our Unification family members. When you're in labor with a child, there is only one way to go. But it must feel like that's the way of death. I imagine that giving birth feels like you will have to die in order to push out the child. And yet, there's a midwife there assuring you that everything will be fine, even when you are convinced, 100% convinced otherwise. In the case of our early pioneers, they were up against the constant threat of communism, and it seemed as if there would be no way through. But true parents had to push and encourage these courageous women to do the impossible for the sake of their nation. Father said, "The people do not understand unification now, but if the 30 million people of Korea join together with the Unification Church, this nation and these people will not perish." I think it is important now for us to remember what our blessed wives have offered, especially now as we are working hard towards a heavenly unified Korea, which is really a story of two brothers in opposition. It is the mother's role to bring these brothers together. So our true mother will also be known as the mother of reunification. But all this rests on foundations of great sacrifices that should be remembered by history. The blessed wives buried their pain in their hearts, for they knew that their mission was for the sake of the nation. In hindsight, their work has borne great fruit and can only be considered the most praiseworthy act of patriotism. Thus far, it has been hidden from view in our nation's history, but one day it will be revealed. As the Unification Church spread to other countries, blessed wives around the world followed the example of the early Korean wives and their families. Thus, this brilliant chapter has been written in the history not just of Korea, but of all nations. All blessed wives stand on this foundation and are carrying on this tradition. It is a story of women sacrificing to preserve the nation and world. Thank you, true mother. Thank you, dear sisters, who have offered more than is possible for the sake of God's will. Thank you to the fathers, and especially the children, who sacrificed your mothers for the sake of the nation and the world. There may be pain in your hearts. There may be a hole hidden deep within that you cannot even understand the shape of. But know that in some sense, this has been the pain of our Heavenly Parent throughout history. We are all longing to come home to our parents' embrace. I think we are especially longing to come home to our mother's embrace. This history is the incredible story of true mother paving the way for Heavenly Parent and humanity to come home. Paving the way for the ultimate fulfillment of God's providence. It's as if the final conclusion of God's providence is to come home to our mother's embrace. Yes, so, dear sisters, thank you. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your endless service, and thank you for your endurance. Brothers, let us thank our mothers, our wives, our sisters, and our daughters, our precious daughters, because they are all now connected to Mother's great work of paving this holy ground, paving this incredible foundation upon which finally humanity can pick itself up, pull itself together, get rid of the historical problems, and come back into our mother's embrace, where all problems will be dissolved, all divisions will be forgotten and healed, and all conflict and tension and sort of masculine rivalry for dominance will just be over. Be back one family under God. And it is our sister's sacrifice especially that is connected to this. For 6,000 years, women have also been waiting for this time. So thank you, Mother. Thank you, sisters. And God bless you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.